Hello and welcome back to another video. Today here again on Forza Horizon 5 to take a look at the brand new to Forza and very Chinese MG6 Xpower. The first of two MGs added as part of the Ford-themed Forzathon update. Of course, logical as Forza will ever be. It's available for 80 points overall in Series 16, so you still have a couple of weeks to win this car at the time of uploading this video if you haven't already. And despite the car being about as British as a bowl of noodles, it's available, or comes in standard, in a very nice, almost British racing green. With very bright brake calipers, interior stitching and trim in quite an offensively bright colour. It is also available in a horrible red, which does not go with any of those bits in any way whatsoever, so let's leave it in green. You might have spotted, though, that there are advanced painting options, which, for reasons, paint the inside of the door pillars. So, well, you can colour match them in an equally offensive bright green if you want. It also does the little shark fin aerial thing on the roof, because of course it does. One thing I do rather like is the little X on the side there, and I don't know if you can see the little X's in the lights. Those are the brake lights. There are also advanced painting colours on the bonnet, but they do literally nothing. What I do quite like about this green as well is it's not the same all the way over. Like the roof, for example, is a dark green, which sort of fades down the bonnet, and I really like that effect. I don't know why, but I think that's incredibly cool, which is another reason why I prefer the green over the red, and will probably leave it in this lovely colour. So I did also paint the outer edge of the wheel in the bright green, and the brake calipers I brightened up a little bit so it matched the stitching and the inside bit. But what I did notice is, having painted the little fin and the insidey bits, I noticed when I started driving, these panel gaps also become, well, in this case, very offensively bright green. So yes, your secondary colour will also do that. As for the car itself, it's a front-wheel drive saloon, producing 300 horsepower and 480 torques from a 1.5-litre turbocharged engine and hybrid system, the same as the regular MG6 that it is of course based on, and it weighs 1,540 kilos, putting it at A-Class 716 PI here in Forza from standard. Just like the latest version of the regular MG6, it won't be sold in Britain though, after the first generation MG6 didn't exactly fly out of the showrooms here. Even if it was though, you'd probably barely ever see them, as it's a limited run of 100 units. It's actually the first time MG have used the Xpower name since becoming Chinese, with the last car using that nameplate being the Xpower SVR, which is an incredible machine, which is also quite rare. I don't know if we'll get an angle in a minute to see those cool brake lights, but you probably saw them a second ago. I think that's a really cool detail. One thing I really don't like is these grills that sort of split the panels where the lights are there, where you see the sort of edge of the grill rather than panel. I started noticing it on BMWs a little while ago, and it seems to be on everything now. Yeah, something I don't particularly like. It was, though, rather impressive on the motorway, hitting a speed of 175 on the downhill section, which isn't a lot, but it's more than I expected from this car, if I'm being honest. And there we go, that's an example of the really cool X brake lights. In terms of upgrades, there's nothing really that interesting. There's a couple of inline-4 engine swaps. There's obviously rear-wheel drive and all-wheel drive conversions. There's the normal Forza Aero, except without hideous towing eye at the front. The wing, you can either put aero on or remove it completely, but I'm obviously just going to leave that as it is because it's kind of cool. This is all as you'd expect. You've got all your normal tyre compounds, tyre widths, track widths, all the usual rim selection. Everything here is just as it is on every other car in Forza. I would be interested to know if it would slip down into B, so we might have to give that a quick go. So to get it into B, all I had to do was put on some rally tyres and some Forza Aero on the rear, at which point I headed into some Horizon Open, although I wasn't really sure it was going to be great. Starting at Player Azul, we were bullied by a Honda a few times and eventually finished off third, so it wasn't a bad start. And that was the end of the first series of races. I only joined for the last one. So next up was the Cathedral Circuit, where I was caught up in traffic and accidents a lot at the beginning, but did work my way up to third again, and it felt pretty good around the street circuit. Then we came to the first sprint, which initially I thought it was going to be terrible at. Really didn't accelerate and was slow in the high-speed sections with only 300 horsepower. But at the twisty section at the end, I was able to gain all of the positions back and finished in third again. So that kind of seems to be where it wants to be. And in the fourth and final race I tried in B-Class, I was, well, fourth, but took a while to get past everyone at the beginning. I did quite an ambitious move up the inside of about 4 cars in the end, I think, which is a little bit rude, but yeah. I don't think it's going to be the fastest thing in B, but it certainly performed better than I was expecting it to. It wasn't all that bad at all. I mean, it is basically stock apart from the wing and the tyres, so it shouldn't be awful, but yeah, I don't think it's going to be winning any races, but it can certainly get you in the top 3 or 4, as I showed there. So now I think I need to try and put an A-Class tune in it, and try it at some A-Class races. So after a quick flick through the tunes, I've decided to go for this greeted dust one with the wing delete. 359 horsepower, so it's a little bit up. So interestingly, the A-Class races were the exact same 3 races as the second B-Class adventure I just did, except I missed the first city circuit at Cathedral. And then on to the first race that we were actually into, which was the sprint. You could immediately feel the 59 horsepower boost from before. It felt pretty good actually in the straights. And, well, by the time we'd got past that kind of rather murderous DeLorean who seemed to be ramming absolutely everybody for no reason, it was pretty good, but we couldn't quite catch the NSX. And it wasn't too bad around the final race of that adventure at the Lookout circuit either, again only being beaten by that NSX. So given that was only 2 out of 3 races and not a full adventure, I went on to another one, starting with a sprint where it was difficult to get past everything and eventually finished third. And then I had an incredibly fun race along the Riviera sprint, diving past everybody at the beginning as everyone seemed to make mistakes left, right and centre, somehow avoiding them all, and then, well, having a great race right up until the end where I finished second. I'm actually really enjoying this A-Class tune. It's much nicer to drive than the B-Class one. And finally we finish the last race not only with the victory, but also with fastest lap. So yes, that kind of confirms that I want to leave this tune on. It was been pretty good in A-Class, even better than it was in B, although potentially we had more difficult drivers, harder competition, I think, with the B-Class one, but yeah, really good actually. Surprised how good this has been both in B, but particularly in A, where it's even won a race, which I know everything should be able to. But yeah, no, I'm surprised by that. Seems like a reasonable car. I doubt it's the fastest thing in either category, but it seems pretty good. And that is going to do it for a very first look at the MG6 Xpower here on Forza Horizon 5. So yeah, it's a very, well, not even modified version of a not very interesting saloon car, the MG6. Not much has been changed apart from visuals, a lovely metallic green colour, some very bright and offensive green accents, and yeah, the race-inspired aero-y bits. But it's not a bad little thing to drive. But it's not the most exciting car. In B-Class, which it does just about drop down into, it did reasonably well. You just need a wing and some rally tyres if you want to try that. That's all I did. I'm not going to share that setup or anything. I didn't tune anything. It was reasonable. Got some podium finishes. But then in A, it seemed a little bit better with a proper tune on it that wasn't just thrown together by me, and also when it was upgraded rather than downgraded. So I think that's probably a better bet. But yeah, it wasn't bad in either, but I don't think it's not the fastest in either category, but it really wasn't bad in either. But yeah, personally I'm going to keep mine for A-Class racing, I think. Yeah, not a bad little thing in the end. And for now though, that is going to be all. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll be back with the next video very soon.